Let's start with the prayers. Vasudeva sutam devam kamsa chadoramarthanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum. Kṣetrajña Vibhaga Yoga, the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, is what we are studying now. We have finished 13 verses. What is the objective of our spiritual study? If you ask this question to any spiritual seeker, the answer he will say is, today I have a vision about myself, but I'm not happy with that vision. And it has got a lot of questions for which I can't find answers. So he comes to a guru and says, okay, can you teach me this spiritual essence in me? I know that I am not this body. I am not this mind. Both are troubling me a lot. Can you teach me? So this is a form of a sorrow in us. The same problem Arjuna had in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Each one of us is having a different type of a battle. According to our own situations in life, our own family situation, our own social situations, we all are having the same battle of not being happy with ourselves and trying to look for some answers in this world. That is the predicament of all the seekers. So in this search, Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita teaches Arjuna, who are you? You are not this body or a mind. Body is fighting this battle outside. You can see it. It's fighting the battle. You're going through some emotions in your mind. That is not you. That is the mind. But without these two, who are you? You are a spiritual being. You are the essence of this whole creation. That is what Lord Krishna wants to teach Arjuna. In order to teach this spiritual essence, he takes up 3 solid chapters, chapter 13, 14, and 15. All these 3 chapters are giving us the essence of each one of us. So if at all I have to search at any time in my life about anything about myself and the world, these 3 chapters are the illuminating chapters giving us the knowledge. And they are very beautiful chapters. At the same time, difficult to understand because they use some terminologies which needs explanation. In this chapter, there are 6 terms which are used: Kshetram, Kṣetrajña, Jnanam, Jneyam, Purusha, Prakriti. If you talk these 6 terms to a layman, he will understand nothing. But it is through these 6 words we are supposed to reach the center essence of our spiritual being. We have to understand these terms. We have to contemplate on these terms. Remove the doubts which come in our intellect. After that, you will know the essence in you. This is the methodology. In all the three chapters, this is the process. Different terms, different things will be used in chapter 15, Purusha, Uttama Purusha, and different terms will be used. In chapter 14, we will talk about Gunas. So different terms will be used in each of these chapters. And they need explanation to understand clearly what it means to me. So whenever we go through these verses, you must always know that the purpose of studying these verses is to drop my identification as the body, that me is not this body. It has got a form, it's got a shape, it has got a history. It was born on so and so date, it grew, became a child, it became an adult, it became a youth, it became all that. There is a history behind this body. But the body is not the real truth. Inside this body, there is a mind, which is an instrument used by the body to interact with the world outside. The mind is also a part and parcel of the body. The gross body and the subtle mind, they always are together in our experiences. Now, so these two are there. We cannot get rid of them. We have to use these two things. We have to live in the same body, live with the same mind, and then ask this question, what is the spiritual essence? What is its nature? When we ask this question, then these terms will make a lot of sense. This is where the teaching of the 13th chapter starts, when a seeker is born and he is asking himself, if I am not this body, if I am not this mind, and the body and mind is experiencing this world, Jiva, Jagat, and there is a creator. Some creator is there in this world, Ishvara. The seeker has to find an answer to all the three questions. Who is a Jiva? Who is the creator, Ishvara? And what is the world which I'm experiencing? Jagat. The Jagat aspect, the world which we are experiencing, generally we can call it as Kshetram. Kshetra means it's a field of experiences. And this field of experiences is experienced by some entity. That entity which is experiencing this field is called as Kṣetrajña. These are the first discrimination or the two terms which we have to understand. There is body and mind, and there is an indweller in this body and mind, which is called as consciousness. This consciousness is the experiencer. The consciousness is called as Kṣetrajña, and what is experienced, the body, mind, and the world, is called as Kshetram. This is the first explanation of two terms. Kshetram. In Kshetram, we must include our own body also, the gross body. We must include our subtle body, which is the mind and the pranas. That is also a part of Kshetra. The field. Only when you are able to discriminate, you have to drop this and say, this is not me. Then you have to ask this question, who am I? And that is the Kṣetrajña. Lord Krishna teaches Arjuna and says that Kṣetrajña is the observing principle, the consciousness, the awareness. In every experience, this awareness is there. Without awareness, there is no experience. All experiences of the body, of the mind, this awareness is there. So we always have to learn to understand ourselves as this awareness. Practice it. It is not inborn. It is taught. It is taught by a guru. It is taught by Lord Krishna. It is taught in the Upanishads. In different texts, they all are trying to reach the same awareness principle, but the methodologies adopted are different. You will see in the next chapter, we will adopt a different method. Same consciousness, same Kṣetrajña. So we have to learn, and each one of us has to do it himself or herself. It cannot be done by you for others because it is unique. This Kṣetrajña is our search. We have done this analysis of Kshetram and Kṣetrajña. Then we also entered the topic of Jnanam and Jneyam. Jnanam is the set of values which the mind should have in order to understand the Kṣetrajña, the observing principle. We have studied the values, we have gone through it in detail. Then we have started understanding what is this consciousness, which is what we called as Kṣetrajña. It is also called as Jneyam. Jneyam means that which ought to be known by me. I should know the spiritual essence. I cannot see that essence, but through this knowledge, I can know that that is what it is. That is my nature. It cannot be seen by the eyes. That spiritual principle is invisible to the sense organs, but it exists. Now, that is what we are learning in this second section of chapter 30, which is the description of Jnanam and Jneyam, and we are seeing the Jneyam portion. Sarvata panipadam tat sarvato shishiro mukham sarvata shrutimam loke sarmavavritya tishtati. Now, this is the description of that Kṣetrajña when it is seen as the total. Now we are looking at the world. The same consciousness principle exists in each and every human being. In the third verse, the Lord of this chapter, we have seen that the Lord is present in all the bodies. Now this is verse of number 14 is a continuation of the same third verse. If the Lord is there in all the human beings, as the consciousness principle, as the spiritual essence, then he can say, I am there in all the feet and all the hands, everywhere, wherever you see human beings, wherever you see any living being, you can see my presence. This is the Kṣetrajña, or the thing to be known at the samashti level. Samashti means the total. when we try to understand this consciousness principle, we must remember two other terms. In English, it's called as immanent, and another term which is used is transcendent. So this immanent principle means what? It is, this consciousness is all pervading. That means it is everywhere, it is available. And transcendent means it also exists beyond the body and mind. That means it is an independent principle also. So these two words you must know. For the next 4 verses, we are going to see the meaning of these 2 words. What is the meaning of immanent? What is the meaning of transcendent? In one verse, in the which will come in the one of the verses, you will find both. I'll explain to you at that time. Here, what is described is the immanent principle. This consciousness, when it is looked at from the totality, it is called as Brahman. And like the space in which the whole Jagat exists, Lord Krishna is saying that this consciousness awareness principle is something, the source of the space itself. That means the cause of this entire Jagat is this consciousness. Jagat Adhishthanam Brahma. That is what we see in the Upanishads. Now this consciousness is something which is Sarva Antar Atma. That means it is inside everything. Whether it is in, or whether you see objects, inside the object it exists. In the wall it exists. In the human beings it exists. Sarva Antara. All pervasive. That is why it is called as immanent. And what is its function? It is the cause which enables all the bodies to act. Like we feel that the body is acting because of the prana, what Lord Krishna is teaching us is beyond the prana there is a spiritual principle which makes this prana work. We don't know why this prana is working, how it is working. We all know we are breathing, yes, but why, how, we don't know. Now here is the answer to that there is a Lord which is controlling the prana in this body. Wherever you see functions, people active, even if you see an ant moving, you must remember it is that consciousness which is there in the ant also, ant body, it is there in the elephant body also. It is there in the birds which fly on the sky. It is there in all the animals, human beings and plants. In certain cases, it is not possible for having the life felt. Like you see, in trees you can see a very primitive life principle. In a human being, yes, you can all feel it. It's a very complex principle because of the mind. And in stones and in insentient objects, the same principle exists, but without the mind. There is no mind. In the insentient objects, there is no mind. But it is also coming from the same one cause, which is called as Brahman, or we can call it Atma. So the first step which we do is to understand this consciousness principle. You see here, Lord Krishna says, I am there in all the legs. Now we are trying to dissect it. and trying to understand in us, how does this work? Whenever we try to understand this, the teacher always tells us, follow two steps. The first step is the drik drishya viveka. Drik means you try to understand for yourself, I am not this body, I am the seer of this body. The seer is called as drik. The seer is also called as atma. So I try to discriminate between the seer, the awareness, the consciousness, and the seed. That is the first step. We use panchakosha viveka. That means the discrimination through the 5 dresses which this consciousness wears for transactions. There is another method, it's called avastatraya sakshi. That means I understand the different states of this awareness consciousness principle, waking, dream, and sleep. That is what we are discussing on the Wednesday classes. Then shariratraya viveka, gross body, subtle body, causal body. Now Kṣetrajña is the seer consciousness in this body, mind, intellect instrument. And the seen is the matter principle. So once you have done the first step, what happens is I develop a vision. That means I develop a strength in my mind to discriminate the seer and the seen. Then the second step is that seer is called as jneyam, the thing to be known, the ultimate reality to be known. If I know this, and if I know that it exists independently, then I can say I am this independently existing principle and gain freedom from the identification with the body and mind. Body and mind are the instruments for me to interact with the world. It is not permanent. It comes in the waking state. It is not experienced in the dream state. It is not known in the sleep state. Whenever we try to understand the consciousness, the awareness, we always have to use the 3 states of consciousness to arrive at the central pure consciousness. So knowing that pure consciousness, here what the Lord Krishna is saying, sarvadapani padam tata. I am there right now in the Jagrat Avastha, in the waking state. I am there as this entire creation. And the same thing is explained in the same thing is explained in other Upanishads also. And when we link up all the knowledge, then we understand that it is the same essence which is described in Purusha Suktam. Purusha Suktam is a very important Suktam set of verses. Some meanings are available. If you are interested, you can go through in our website also. You'll find this. So, the same idea of this Kshetram is explained in the Purusha Suktam, and there also Sahasrashisha Purushaha Sahasrakshat Sahasrapat Sabhobim Vishwato Vrit. So this is the way it says that the Purusha, the cosmic being, is with thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of legs, pervading the whole universe. And then it says, it exists beyond 10 inches, beyond all this. That is the Kṣetrajña. That is what is the Purusha. That is the transcendent principle. That means the same consciousness appears as this world of waking. At the same time, it can exist by itself as the pure being beyond the sleep state. See, we all experience this waking, dream, and sleep. But we don't know that we are the pure being. We all feel that whatever I am in the waking state is the reality. Here, the scriptures teach us what we experience in the Jagrata Avastha, in the waking state, is an appearance. It is not my absolute nature. My absolute nature lies beyond the waking state. And how do I try to understand this waking? Beyond means what? So for that, I then say, the scriptures say, it is not only beyond the waking, it is beyond the dream also. It is beyond the sleep also. So I have to mentally try to wake up to that state which is beyond the sleep state. You may protest and say, what is all this? I can't understand. It's too abstract for me. But we are all experiencing that. It is nothing new. The spiritual being is nothing new which is being taught here. We are all experiencing this pure being state beyond the sleep state as our real nature. Every day when we go to sleep, we are with that pure being. Our nature is that. The whole thing, this entire waking and dream and sleep, ultimately they resolve into this pure being. Whether it is now or after the death of the body, don't care. But if you know that that is the real state of mind, then you will be free from the fear of death. No more death. Okay, I have already learned the 13th chapter of the Gita. I know for certain that that is my real nature. Again and again, the Lord has explained to me. It is the Creator himself who has created my body. I never created this body. I'm living in this body. I'm experiencing this body. And I am now asking, who am I? And the Lord is teaching me that I am one with him. And he is the same as appearing as the whole creation. That is the way I have to learn this knowledge. In that pure state, there is no sense of time, space, or distance, or any objects. Very important point we should remember. There is no time, space in that pure being. Time is a cause for the body to be born in the waking state. But in that pure being, it is not there. No time. But it exists. That is my nature. Ishavasya Upanishad also talks about the same consciousness in the very first verse. Mahatma Gandhi used to love this verse. Ishavasyam idagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjitaha magridas kasya siddhanam. This is the first verse where the Lord is saying that all this world is covered by me. That means it's the same consciousness principle. You see, Lord means it is the awareness principle. That awareness principle is teaching me that I am also the same awareness. And here in this verse, it says, whatever is moving, whatever is not moving, everything is in this consciousness. This consciousness envelops the whole universe. That is the nature of the Lord. And that Lord is telling me, you are also a part and parcel of me. You are also the same consciousness. I am that Purusha. I am that Nyeya Vastu. So there it says you just drop everything, including the body, the mind, the wealth which you possess, and then own up this consciousness as your real nature. Ishavasya Upanishad, the first verse. Small Upanishad, but very, very terse and very deep in its meanings. So we have seen Purusha Suktam talks about the immanent principle of the Lord, the consciousness principle. Ishavasya talks about this consciousness principle. And this pervading nature energizes everything, enlivens everything in creation. The sentient factor in creation is called as Kṣetrajña. That is the vastu to be known. Nyeyam. That is what we are seeing now. What is the Neya vastu? The thing to be known. And that thing is basically, it can be expressed as sattva. That means whatever is existing in creation, that existence is lent by that pure being. And sphurti, these are two terms which are used in the Vedanta to describe that spiritual being. And that's sphurti means it illumines, it makes things known. For you, your body is known. For me, my body is known. I know I am speaking. I know I'm walking, I'm reading, I'm talking. But that knowing principle is this consciousness. And it remains as the substratum, sarva adhishthanam. Sarva adhishthanam means it is the adhishthanam, it is from where, it is the source from where this entire Jagrata Avastha is coming. The whole waking state is coming from that pure being, pure consciousness. And we call that as the reality. And this whole waking experience, we call it as an appearance. Like the dream appearance, we also have the waking appearance. But that consciousness is called as the reality. It's a real entity. The scene is only a superimposition. Like the dreamer is a superimposition on the waker. So the waker is the substratum for the dreamer. So any superimposition will require a substratum. So for the waker, the substratum is this consciousness. That is how the teaching is. When we do this step-by-step understanding, we see this one entity which is the ultimate essence of this whole creation. That's superimposition. In Sanskrit, it is called as adhyastham. And the substratum is called as adhishthanam. Supported, supporter. This is what is the relationship between Kshetram and Kṣetrajña. Between the body, mind, conscious instrument and the consciousness. The matter principle and consciousness principle. This is the only relationship which exists. Supporter, supported. Supporter is the consciousness. That supporter can exist by itself. That is what I am in my sleep state. I exist as a pure spiritual being. I am is the experience of all of us in the sleep state. I am there means I am the pure being. If I know that is my real state while living, then I am free. There's no death for me as the spiritual essence. Death is for the body and it has got its own relationships, son, family, bank, is society, nation. All the relationships is related to the body, the physical body. That's all. Beyond this physical body is this pure consciousness. I know the truth of the whole universe because the universe is coming and going in this consciousness. Ishavasya Idagam Sarvam. The scene is called as Vyavaharikam. Vyavaharikam means transaction. All transactions happen in the seen objects, not in Atma. That is why Atma is called as non-doer, non-enjoyer. Once this doer and ship and enjoyership principle goes away from our mind, we are free. That is called as moksha. It's just a notion. I have to just drop the notion, I am not this. That's all. One day you have to tell your own mind, oh mind, you are disturbing me too much because you are attached to this body. The mind gets attached to the body, to the world. You have to tell your mind, okay, I know through the Bhagavad Gita teaching, I am the pure consciousness. I am is the reality. Whatever I add to I am is the world. I am the body. I am the mind. I am Bhatt. I am Lakshmikant Bhatt. I am you just add a name. That name means what? That name means the body. The body gets a name. And the body is interacting with the world. Here I am learning what lies beyond this body. Like the whole waking mind appears as the entire dream world, this whole waking world is an appearance for the Sakshi. There is one consciousness principle. That consciousness is invariable. It is always there. Awareness principle. But what is coming and going is this experience of the gross body and the gross world. And this Kṣetrajña, that means the consciousness, appears as this entire waking world. The ego I, the Chitra I, the Meena I, the Uma I, all this is nothing but it is the ego. It is the mind which is attached to the body. But beyond this ego I is this Sakshi. Or we can call it Brahman. Brahman means a totality. All the human beings, when you put together, at the body level, we call it Atma. At the totality level of the creation, we call it Brahman. So when this knowledge comes to me of this consciousness principle, I can say I am self-realized. Self refers to the consciousness. We all know the body. We all know our emotions, the mind. But we don't know this self. This Brahman is the self within all. That is what we are seeing in this particular verse. Sarvatma Bhava. Whenever we are trying to know ourselves, we must know two things. That I am the Atma is one part. But this Atma is also Sarva Atma. That is the second part. No teaching is complete without the second part. Sarvatma Bhava must be known by me, by my mind. It is my mind which becomes enlightened. When that ignorance goes away, when that identification goes away with the body and mind is one, some type of an experience which comes and goes, but the substance behind me is this consciousness. So this is the self-expression of consciousness at macro level, and it is called as Sarva Antar Atma. Antar means inside. It is the Atma of the creation, which enables the whole creation to function. How does the air move? This is one of the questions asked in the Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad. What impels the air to move from one place to another? That is also an action. What impels it? It is this consciousness. How does the rain fall? Because of this consciousness. So everything is attributed to this one principle, which is called as Jneyam. That is what we are trying to learn in this chapter, in this particular section. This is a beautiful verse. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvabhrishchaiva nirgunam gunabhoktucha. See, here I talked about two principles, immanent and transcendent. Immanent means whenever you see the world, it is there. Transcendent means when you don't see the world, it is there. Here in this verse, Lord Krishna is giving us both in one verse. It's a very, very beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita. What does it say? This consciousness functions through all the senses. At the same time, it can remain without the senses as unattached, as if it has got no qualities, no attributes, no objects to be seen, nothing. Yet it is the experiencer. That means what? I am the consciousness principle. When I operate the body and mind, I experience the world. This is one function of consciousness, which is called as the immanent principle. The second part is, I can exist as in sleep without the senses, without the mind, without the world, unattached. Here, I am an independent principle. I exist by myself as the pure being. In the pure being, there are no bodies. In the pure being, there are no minds, no objects to be seen. The same thing is mentioned in Chandogya Upanishad. Very beautiful verse in Chandogya. It says, Yatra nanyat pashyati, nanyat vijanati, nanyat shrunoti, tat bhuma. That is called as consciousness. In the Chandogya Upanishad, the word for consciousness is bhuma, 7th chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad. Same idea. See, because Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Upanishads. It is teaching us my real self. And this is a beautiful verse. It gives us, if you understand this verse properly, you would know your Atma very clearly. There is nothing else. This one verse is enough. If you understand this, I exist as a pure being in my sleep state. I exist as Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, or with a name and form in my waking state. How two states are combined and the reality is revealed. Kṣetrajña at Vyashti individual level is taken up in this verse. In the previous verse, we took samashti, the consciousness, Kṣetrajña, at the samashti level in the 14th verse. In the 15th verse, we are understanding the same consciousness at the Veshti level. Veshti means individual body level. How do I relate to this consciousness? I tell myself in meditation, I am that pure consciousness which is the cause of this body to live. It lives because of this consciousness. It is beyond the prana. It is the illuminating principle, because of which the body is known to exist. That pure being has got two aspects: existence aspect and knowingness aspect, illuminating aspect, the chit aspect, sat and chit. That sat and chit is lent to the body, it's lent to the whole universe, but sat and chit can remain independently. Vyavaharikam, paramarthikam. Two words again. See how through the Sanskrit words, slowly we try to understand our real nature. It's all words, because the words have got the power in them to reveal something which cannot be known through any other means. Like, I can't use my eyes, I can't use my ears. So what is the pramanam I use? The pramanam, the source is Shastram, the scriptural words, Upanishadic words. That is a light for me. It makes things known to me which is otherwise unknown. Sarva Indriya Abhasam. This is what is called as immanent principle. It exists in all the time it is there. Saguna, Guna, Bhoktru. Guna Bhoktru means what? It enjoys all the gunas of the mind, all the gunas which exist in the world. There are objects, sattvic objects, rajasic objects, tamasic. We are going to study this in detail in the next chapter. Paramarthikam means what? It is sarva indriya vivarjitam. Vivarjita means without the sense objects and the sense organs, this consciousness exists by itself. When it exists by itself, it is called as transcendent principle. When it is existing by itself, it is called as nirgunam, without the attributes of the sense organs. When you say without the attributes of sense organs, the whole world of sense objects is finished. It's already negated. So this is a verse which uses the same process. I have used another two terms before, adhyaropa, apavada. Adhyaropa means superimposition and apavada means negation. This is a very, very common methodology used in the Upanishads. Very unique methodology to reveal Atma, not to reveal anything else. This methodology, you can only reveal the Atma, the light of consciousness which is in all of us. As the light, like the electricity principle in a bulb. If we want to show electricity to your son or daughter, you cannot show. The only way is you see the bulb. Does it glow? Yes, that is the electricity. Through the function of the bulb, you can say, you can reveal the electricity. Similarly, through the function of the body and the indriyas and the mind, Lord Krishna is revealing the Atma. Indriyani dasha ekacha. That means 10 indriyas. We have seen this in Tattvabodha, 5 jnana indriyas, organs of knowledge, and 5 karma indriyas. Karma indriyas are the organs of action. So if I want to know this consciousness principle, I can say yes, this consciousness principle is illuminating the mind, the subtle body. The subtle body is illuminating the sense organs. It is the perceiver, feeler, thinker. I feel I am perceiving the world. I see things, I taste things. So when I say I am tasting, I'm feeling, I'm thinking, all this is the reflection of that consciousness in this body. That consciousness is there as a pure being when I'm sleeping. Its reflection is falling in the mind when the mind wakes. And then we enjoy this world. Throughout the day, we are feeling, thinking, acting, through our sense organs is all the actions of knowledge. And through the organs of action, we are giving responses from the body to the world. So our life is only two things: getting knowledge through the sense organs and responding to the world. That's all. That is what is called as Vyavahara. Kṣetrajña becomes the Shrota, the listener. Vakta, the speaker. Drishta, seer. Manta, thinker. So when that pure consciousness, which can exist by itself, gets reflected in the body becomes sentient and it becomes a perceiver, thinker, feeler. This is how we have to unreveal this consciousness. This Atma is not known, but we have to make it known through the words of the scriptures, through the words of the 14th chapter. Sarva Indriya Vivarjitam. So we have seen Sarva Indriya Bhasam. Now we say Sarva Indriya Vivarjitam. Vivarjitam means now we say negation. The same consciousness is free of being a listener, free of being a speaker, free of being a seer, thinker. And it exists like what? A pure being, which is nirgunam, without any gunas of the Maya principle. All these gunas which you are talking, guna means attributes. So in ignorance, we think that we are the ahamkara, the mind. This mind becomes karta, bhokta, pramata. Karta means doer, bhokta means enjoyer, pramata means perceiver, knower. I become the knower of the world when I am with the mind, when I am attached to the mind, when I am reflected in the mind. But what is the Sakshi? Sakshi is without the mind. It is the illuminator of the mind. This I can get only after knowing the Kṣetrajña. After studying the Bhagavad Gita, I can say I am the Sakshi. Because I have gone through the process of spiritual study. The sunlight is always compared to this consciousness principle because it's also a form of light which illumines the world. But consciousness is beyond the sun. The sunlight is free from all properties. Suppose the reflection falls in the pot of water. That reflection will have movement when the water moves. that reflection will appear to be dirty when the water is dirty. That reflection in the water is like our mind. In the mind, there is a reflection of consciousness. The mind is like the mirror, very subtle creation. In a wooden substance like a table, you cannot see your face. In a mirror, you can see the face. Both are matter, but that is fine matter and the wood is gross matter. So the mind and body is the same material, matter principle. But the mind is very, very sukshma and subtle. In that mind, consciousness can get reflected. And when that gets reflected, the mind becomes active. And the mind, when it becomes active, it activates all the sense organs. This is how it happens in a split second when we get up in the morning. The essence of this reflected light, sunlight, the essence of it, the light in that reflection is the same as the original sun, which is illumining. So the reflected sun and the reflected consciousness are what is called as jiva. That is, consciousness plus the mind is called as jiva. The mind mirror is the water. Whenever jiva is in vyavahara, it is always shaking. That means the mind is always active. Always the reflected mind, body, intellect are together. Reflection plus the body, mind is always together. But this reflected consciousness can exist by itself. That is what is called as paramarthika. That consciousness, when it exists, it is one with Brahman. The jiva, when the consciousness is reflected in the body, it is called as jiva. When the consciousness is not reflected in the body, in the mind, it becomes pure consciousness, which is called as Brahman. So jiva is nothing else but that pure consciousness. I have been thinking I am the body and mind because of the waking state. Now the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita is teaching me that sarva indriya vivarjitam. I exist without the sense organs as the pure consciousness. As pure consciousness, I am one with the Lord. I have merged with the Lord while living. That is called as jīvanmukta. Jivaha muktaha. I have stopped identifying myself as this body and mind. I identify myself as what? That pure being. When I do that, I am called as realized person. But this realization happens while we are discussing in this session. Instantly we realize our nature. But to hold on to that realization is a difficult thing because of my habitual thinking. So again, when I go back to interactions, the body is acting, the mind is acting, I lose my nature, I forget my nature. That is called as ignorance. The jiva, when it is acting in the world, is with ignorance. The same jiva, when it is in meditation or in the class, learns that it is not the body, it is the pure consciousness. When I keep that knowledge with me throughout my life, I am called as a mukta purusha. I am free while living. It is not freedom to be gained after death of the body, going to Vaikuntha, going to some loka. No. When we learn the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads, we get this freedom here and now. Now, right now, I am muktaha. This freedom I had before also. That was one nature. But I didn't know that wheeling, there was a cover of the tamas in the sleep state. That covering of the tamas, tamasic guna, is removed. This particular verse is a Mahavakyam because you are able to put oneness of the jiva with Paramatma. Essence of individual consciousness is one with the total universal consciousness named Brahman. Sarva Brishchaiva means what? It supports everything as though it is a substratum. But it can exist independently also. Everything is held by Kṣetrajña, everything is held by Purusha, everything is held by this Vastu which is called as Neya Vastu. How does it hold? How does it support? Asaktam, untouched, unaffected by whatever happens as events in life. The sorrow in the mind does not affect the Atma. Atma is ever free. Like the waker is untouched by all the events happening in the dream state, Atma, the real nature, is unaffected by all events in the waking state. Very, very important factor. That is why this particular verse is a brilliant verse of this chapter. Remember this and realize your own true nature as the pure consciousness. Guna means good qualities, dosha means defects. These are all attributes of the mind. Guna and dosha in the reflecting medium called the mind. It does not affect the reflected consciousness. Today, the jiva, which is the mind, thinks that he is the mind and identified as one with the mind. That is called as tadatmayam, tadatmaya adhyasa. Without this spiritual knowledge, I am one with the body. But with spiritual knowledge, I learn to create some distance between me, the Sakshi, and the body and the mind. The moment I create the distance, I start realizing all these qualities in me. Whatever the Upanishad or the Bhagavad Gita is teaching me, I can know it the moment I learn to separate the body and mind from the awareness principle. So this verse is saying the jiva is nothing else but that pure awareness principle, which is the substratum for the whole creation. Kṣetrajña supports all indriyas within this body, but it also is free from the indriyas and their activities. With knowledge, action, and delusion, we run the entire life. Our knowledge is limited in the waking state. That is called as sattva pradhanam. Sattva, now I'm slowly taking up the gunas. Gunas are three types: sattva, rajas, tamas. Knowledge, action, delusion. This is an introduction for the chapter 14, which we will do later. But right now, understand these are gunas, attributes of the mind. The source of the mind is called as Maya Shakti. That Maya Shakti has got these three compartments or three aspects. One is called as the Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and the Tamo Shakti. Kriya Shakti is the action. Jnana Shakti means the knowledge part, which is called as sattva. So the three states which we experience are nothing else but the three gunas of the mind. When we are in the sattvic state, we are said to be waking. Rajasic state is when we are dreaming. And tamasic state is when we are sleeping to our real nature. So this consciousness seems to be going through all these states, but it is only seeming I. The pure I getting reflected through the body, gross body, subtle body, causal body. Gross body in the waking state, subtle body in the dream state, causal body in the sleep state. See how Tattva Bodha becomes very useful. These are all Tattva Bodha principles. Same thing which was taught in Tattva Bodha, I am now repeating. But now we are able to connect all this because we have learned so much of the Bhagavad Gita. If I had taken up this verse at the time of Tattva Bodha, you would never have understood. But because you have gone through the whole study, you have stuck on to this study with persistence. And now you're able to realize the truth. This one verse can reveal the spiritual essence in us very, very beautifully. All the things, all is contained in one cryptic verse. That immanent and the transcendent are packed together into one verse. Kaivalya Upanishad also talks about very similar idea. I am bringing in some of the Upanishad because slowly you have to get used to the Upanishad. Because all these are all coming from the Upanishad, the essence of the Upanishad. Sayeva maya parimohitatma sharira mastaya karoti sarvam. What it says is that this consciousness goes through the three states. The same thing is said. It is the Maya, that whatever the jiva is nothing else but the Maya in action. So this Maya is identified through all perceptions, feelings, and thoughts in the waking state. And in the waking state, what happens is it enjoys the different sense objects in the world. Kaivalya Upanishad, the 12th mantra. Same idea. Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, the first portion, the Adhyarava portion, the superimposition is said in the 12th verse of Kaivalya Upanishad. In the same Upanishad, in the 19th verse, it will say everything is vivarjitam. Mayeva sakalam jatam, may sarvam pratishtitam. So there also the same principle, adhyaropa apavada, superimposition and negation. It looks as though that it is the substratum is deluded, but it is only a reflection. That reflection, reflected consciousness is the Maya principle. Kṣetrajña alone goes through the waking, dream, and sleep. That means it is that spiritual essence in us which is going through the three states. At the same time, it can exist separately. With reference to the rope snake, the substance is called as the rope. With reference to the dream, the substance is the waker. With reference to the waker, the substance is this consciousness, Kṣetrajña. Guna Bhoktru means it is enjoying the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And these three gunas belong to the mind. And the mind belongs to Kshetram or Prakriti. But this Kṣetrajña is the one which sustains the gunas in the mind during the waking state. And what is this Nirgunam? Nirgunam means what? It is this Maya, which is the mind. In that Maya, there is a reflection. That reflection portion can exist separately as the Nirguna Jiva, which is what is called as the essence, which is free from the sattva, rajas, and tamas. The same topic is going to be discussed as gunatita. That means here what in this verse 14, whatever we are discussing as the vivarjitam, the whole in the chapter 14, in the next chapter also, we'll be discussing the same vivarjitam when we do the gunatita portion. That means when the jiva learns to know its nature without the gunas, it is called as nirguna avastha. In that there is nothing. It is pure consciousness, ever liberated, ever free. And it is only knowledge, nothing else. The three gunas can also be known as the knowledge, or rajas can be known or expressed. Okay, this is a little bit detail about chapter 14, but again, I want to give you some details so that you can link it up when chapter 14 comes. Sattva guna means whenever I am full of knowledge, when my sense organs are always clear, which usually happens in the morning. As soon as I get up in the morning, when I take up a book to read or some important text to read, I will remember that everything I can read, I can remember. And it is, sattva means happiness also. In that pure state, that pure sattvic state is a clear mind where the reflection of consciousness is the maximum. That is why you feel happy. You feel, I am not disturbed. I am an awareful person. Whenever you feel this, it can be, suppose you sleep in the afternoon today and you get up, you will have the same sattvic mind. And that is a happy state. That reflected consciousness has got grades. Moda, pramoda, we have discussed this when we have discussed the Upanishads. So Rajas portion is the agitated mind. Rajas means agitations. Vikshepaha. The projections of the mind is so fast and so much that it is like a volcano which is erupting. Thoughts of the thoughts, emotions are coming, and they have controlled you completely. The jiva which is there in this body is completely swallowed up by the emotions. That state is called as rajas. Then you will say, I am a very sorrowful person. When a person says, I'm extremely angry, sorrowful, greedy, or in grief, you know that the person that consciousness is completely covered by rajas of the mind. The third condition of the same guna, now see why we are discussing this is guna varjitam. We have that one word, we are going deeper. Sarva guna vivarjitam. That word, we are going deeper. Vivarjitam of the three gunas. Now the third guna is moha, tamas. Whenever we are in delusion, what is right, it appears wrong. Wrong appears right. These are all delusions. It happens to us. That is called as moha. And I become moodaha. See, all of us experience this. At some time or other, we will experience this. But knowing that this is the nature of the mind, and I am Sakshi, different than this mind, helps us tremendously to live our life peacefully. Whenever I am in Vyavahara, I become Guna Bhoktru. I become the Gunas. I become the enjoyer of the Gunas. That means the mind is enjoying the Gunas, which are Prakriti. Ultimately, it is only nature. It is only the 5 elements. But this consciousness is totally different. It is the illuminating principle of the mind. So if somebody is irritating you, you only know that I am not the one who is getting irritated. It is the mind which is getting irritated. I am the pure Sakshi. This knowledge will help you to live a relatively free life. The gunas you cannot change, but you can know how to live with the gunas if you know what these gunas are, which we will study in the chapter 14 in big detail. That is, that chapter 14 is the analysis of a human mind. Master the mind, master life. That is the chapter 14. So here it says that it appears as though I'm experiencing these gunas, but in truth, what it means is I am nirgunam. Sarva guna vivarchitam. I can drop all these states of the mind and go to sleep in a split second. How? Because my nature is nirgunam. Action is only an appearance, semblance of the original consciousness. In truth, there is no action. That is what we must realize through this 14th verse. A very, very deep verse in meaning. It's a Mahavakya of the Bhagavad Gita, and dwell on this, and it will give us more insights into our own self. How is Kṣetrajña substratum of Vyashti and Samashti? How is this consciousness the source for the totality as well for the individual? That we are going to take next week. Very beautiful section again. All these verses are important verses for realization of the truth in our own self. At any time, whenever you want to study the Bhagavad Gita and you want to know the real nature of this Atma, you have to come to these verses. There is no other way. Chapter 2 has got from verse number 12 to 25 the same essence. Chapter 13, 14, and 15 have got the same essence of chapter 2. And these verses will reveal the ultimate truth, and this can be used beautifully for meditation. If you want to sit with the eyes closed and don't know what to do, take up this one verse. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarchitam. That is the nature of Atma. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha sukshmatva tadadvikneyam durastam chanti kechatat. The moving and the unmoving, everything is this Atma. This is the verse we'll take up next week. With this, we'll close for the day. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So if you have any questions, you can ask me now. There are no questions in the chat box. So Shanmugam will unmute everybody. So you can ask these questions yourself. Unmute. Yeah. Anybody has any questions?
Shaitarakya, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let her go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Rohini, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. We have, we were talking about realization.
Yeah.
A realized person is totally aware of the fact that they are consciousness and they think the body is not important and so on. Am I right? That's a realized person.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
What about people who have mental problems? They are totally unaware of what is happening around them. Are they realized?
No, they are not realized. No.
So how do you?
No, see, they are confused people. For some reason, due to some past karmas, they are experiencing this state of mind. They are also pure consciousness, pure beings like you and me. But they are suffering in this birth, maybe for a few years, maybe for I don't know how long, but they are just suffering a particular state of mind which does not allow them to think clearly. That's all.
Totally unaware.
Yeah, totally unaware of the situation outside. They are lost in their own mind. It is a deluded mind and they are lost in it. And they are not realized people. It is not true. Only when you come to Bhagavad Gita and you listen to these talks, you understand the nature of the mind, and then you understand I am the Sakshi of the mind, then only you can say I am realized. That knowledge is important. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the Sakshi, the pure consciousness which is revealing the body. Always remember there is a light which is by which I come to know this body. This gross body is matter. It cannot be known without some light. That light is me. That light can exist independent of this body. The moment I have this knowledge, I become free. This knowledge has to be percolated in the mind. You have to think about it again and again. It has to go deep into your subconscious mind. And a day will come, you will say, yes, I agree 100% to what the teaching is. Each mind will say this to itself. I am the awareness. I am is the consciousness. Everything else I add is my body or mind. Everything else. That consciousness is see, for example, I will ask you a simple question. Were you present last week? You will say, I am. Last week when you were there, you lived as I am. Today you are living as I am. the same I am will continue tomorrow also. So what is changing is not the I am. What is changing is the mind. The thoughts in the mind are
Thoughts,
changing.
knowledge, everything.
Yeah, knowledge, ignorance, all that is
Yeah.
changing. I am is the pure existence. I am is the pure consciousness. It always is. It is always there. This is what Lord Krishna is teaching us. That this consciousness is the seer of the body. It is not the body. Like you see the things of objects in a room, you see a mobile, a laptop, you see so many things, a table, a chair. In the light, you see all this. But the light is only, this is a material light. There is another light which is called as the spiritual light. That is the real essence of this creation. In that, through that light only, the creation is seen in the waking, and in the sleep state it is becomes unknown. Only when you analyze the three states, you can come to this state of Turiyam, the state of pure being. So I think I've answered your question. Your basic question is those other people are not realized.
I just wanted to clarify. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else has any other questions? Somebody had a question. Yeah, Imachu. Hello.
Ramesh.
Yeah. Does anybody have a question?
Yes, Shekhar, this is Lakshmi.
Bhatt. Yeah, tell me.
So, okay, for the waker, you said it is the highly related to the sattvic, and then we can attribute it to the sukhi. Similarly, the dreamer is more of because of the rajas, and due to that it is a dukhi.
No, but the dreamer can be sukhi also. It's not that only dukhi. Sukhi, dukhi is there common to all of them. But what I'm saying is, it is basically a rajasic guna of the mind, which is what is illumined in the dream state.
Okay. But when we go to the tamas, that is where the delusion is there, and then it is the deep sleep. Is that correct?
Yes, the deep sleep state is a tamasic guna. It is the matter principle.
Predominance of the tamas.
Yes, it's a predominantly tamasic.
Okay, but the question which I am getting in my mind is that, like in the awake state, our mind may go through the turmoil.
Yes.
But we get a complete relief when we have the deep sleep.
Yes.
So how come that the tamas is helping here, whereas the sattvic, which is the awakened state, is giving us the most trouble?
Okay, very good question.
Totally,
Yeah, that's good. It's a good question. See, there are two Shaktis in Maya. Maya, the matter principle, the Prakriti, or whatever the five elements, the basic, the content of the five elements, that there is a Shakti in it. It has got two principles. One is called as Vikshepa Shakti, another is called as Avarna Shakti. Vikshepa means projecting. That means it will keep on changing. In the waking state, the projecting power and the wheeling power of Maya is active. Two powers are active. That means as a waker, I don't know I am the pure being. As a waker, my mind is projecting all types of things. So in the sleep state, what happens is the projecting power is not there. Only the wheeling power is there.
Okay.
Because the projecting power is not there, you feel I am a Sukhi.
Okay.
Because the feeling power is there, you feel I don't know anything.
Hmm.
So that is the state of sleep.
Hmm.
Now are you able to clear? It appears in the waking that you are enjoying things, but it is only reflected happiness. Or you can call it all the projections, if they become very, very strong, then it can lead to sorrow.
Okay.
Any projection of the mind can lead to sorrow. Any projection. Suppose you have too much of sukham also, ultimately it will end with dukham only.
Okay.
Because it is the nature of the Maya. That's all. It is only a Shakti of Maya. You see, what we have to understand is only this principle called as Maya.
Mm-hmm.
In the waking state, my mind has got a projecting capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And it has got a completely covering capacity. It will cover my entire human, it covers my pure nature as a pure being, as I am in my sleep state. In my sleep state, I do exist. I don't say that I don't exist. I don't say, only thing is I don't know who I am. I don't know because of this covering of this tamoguna.
Okay.
And the moment this tamoguna is removed, that is what we are learning in the waking state, to remove the tamoguna. We can't do this in the sleep state because again the body is under the control of the Maya. Only in the waking state you can learn and know that I am that pure being. That's all. It is only knowledge. That is why they say this moksha is nothing else but pure knowledge of the scriptures. From the scriptures, I come to know I am that pure being. In chapter 14, there is a section of mantras which will talk about how I can see myself without the sattva, rajas, and tamas as a pure being. That is a beautiful section in chapter 14. It is called as Gunatita Purushaha, where you learn. Lord Krishna is going to tell us Sarva Indriya Vivarjitam. That means the same what we have learned in the 14th verse. He is going to describe the same one verse. He's got 10 verses of Gunatita. That means you now drop all your gunas. Learn that guna is not you. Guna means what? It is purely the mind. All this turbulences which goes on sometimes, we keep on getting into a situation. Suppose there is an event outside. Our mind keeps on projecting, oh, this should happen, that should happen, this should happen, and we run, we think, we take the WhatsApp, we send messages. All this is all interactions, all is nothing else but rajas. It is the rajas of the mind which is active. But in meditation, when it comes, what happens? My mind is quiet. Suddenly I find the same mind which was active is also can be sattvic. Early in the morning, I get up, I chant Vishnu Sahasranamam. Anytime you chant the Vishnu Sahasranamam, what happens is the mind quietens down. The chanting is a beautiful technique for quieting the mind. Beautiful technique. Anytime you chant, you will find that my mind has become sattvic. Because the vibrations of these mantras, they are very powerful. Very, very powerful. We don't know how to control or how to deal with our mind. But the scriptures teach us, this is the mind. This is the way to deal with the two problems of the human mind, which is the projecting power, and the second is the wheeling power. Does it answer the question?
Yeah. So in simple terms, what you're saying is the Vikshepa Shakti is what giving us both the the pain as well as the happiness during the awake state.
Yes.
But that goes totally silent during the sleep.
Yes.
To the which we feel that we are much more happy with that.
Yes, we are more relaxed all the time, whether it is in the afternoon you go to sleep or you go to sleep in the night. All of us, wherever we are living, whenever we are sleeping, we all feel we are very happy. As soon as we get up in the morning, we feel, oh, I had a good sleep. It was a restful sleep. Basically, what you had is a quiet mind. That's all. The consciousness was aware that the mind was quiet, but it could not reveal it because of the tamoguna.
The willing power.
Willing power, yes.
The power was the highest at that time.
That's correct. The willing power was predominant.
Okay.
Very good. Very good question.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else has any other question?
Mr. Shekhar, I
Yeah,
have
Jacqueline.
one question which I always heard about it. Maya, can I confirm, is Maya impression?
Maya is passion. Yes, it is.
Impression.
Sorry?
No, Maya. Maya is a terminology in Sanskrit, right?
Yeah, it's in Sanskrit. Yes.
Yeah, but in English, it's impression, right? Or passion?
Passion. Passion.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just want to confirm.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other question from anybody else?
Shekharji, good evening. This is Uma here.
Yeah, Uma, go ahead.
Shekharji, just it's a thought that came to me, but it seems not quite right. So that's why I'm checking with you. Recently, I had this pain, and I was trying to, tell myself that okay, this is just the body feeling the pain and all that, and it did work sort of. So I was like not so much in pain, but suddenly another thought came that, oh, it's through the very divine consciousness that I'm even feeling the pain. So when I got that thought, the pain actually sort of ceased nearly totally.
Yes.
And after that, I started feeling better, and slowly I forgot the pain.
Yes.
But the next day, I felt that this is not a correct way of thinking. Because I was thinking, okay, if let's say I'm seeing something unpleasant and there's a light there, and that light is like consciousness, so I shouldn't be happy that the light is there and seeing that, unpleasant stuff.
No, you see, what happens is you are neither becoming happy or neither becoming sad because of the sakshi. See, when you take yourself, or when you say to yourself, there is a divine light which is illuminating for me this joyful experience, and it is also illuminating my sorrowful experiences. So the illuminating principle is there. And when you say, I am that illuminating principle, what will happen is you will drop the identification of the body or mind. This is the technique. The first is, yes, there is this divine principle which is illuminating. That is only part of the knowledge. The second part of it is you have to apply it as, I am that pure consciousness in which these appearances are coming and going. Okay, the body is painful, no doubt. Let me just go through it. It is the nature of the body to have pain, but God has also given me this knowledge. I am the consciousness. I am one with Him. I am the awareness principle. The moment you say, I am the awareness principle, and you again and again tell yourself, I am the pure awareness, I am the awareness, this pain will come and go. You see, it's only a time. For a few hours, for a few minutes, the pain will be there. Whether it is physical pain or mental pain, the physical pain is felt. Again, tomorrow morning when you get up, you may feel the pain, but what happens is, when this knowledge of awareness comes in, you stand aloof and say, I am the awareness. Whatever is there is a appearance. It will come and it will go. whether I like it or not, it is something which is a passing thing. It has to pass. It will pass. So you are right. At the same time, you have to apply this knowledge and know this consciousness as the pure principle, pure being. The more you accept that I am a pure being, the more you will find the impact of all this pain and sorrow will get reduced. Let your mind keep rotating these thoughts. I'm very happy to see that you are able to apply it in yourself, but let this knowledge percolate more and more. You'll find bigger impact in your life.
Shaitarakya, that means I'm seeing this as 3 steps. So the first step was negating the body as myself, which I did. And then it's like acknowledging the presence of consciousness, which I felt, and I felt good about it.
Very good.
But it's the number 3 that you are just saying, it didn't occur to me at that time.
Yeah,
That
now you
I am the
fully
conscious.
learn to say, I am. That the Lord has taught me in the Gita. The 14th verse of the 13th chapter, I have learned that I am the Sakshi, I am the pure awareness. See, for all of us, this knowledge of this pure consciousness is completely new. Nobody knows this consciousness till they come to this spiritual study. And it is a knowledge which I have to keep applying to myself. Even during the day itself, you can tell yourself, I am the awareness, I am the pure awareness consciousness. You can tell yourself this 10 times a day, doesn't matter. And then you'll find suddenly, oh, my mind has become so quiet. Even if there was a little bit of agitation, little bit of rajas, that flickering of thoughts in you, suddenly it will cease. When you make it a practice to know and to realize this consciousness as your real nature and everything else as an appearance, then you will find this is a divine knowledge. Very, very divine, very, very auspicious knowledge.
Okay, I got it, Shaitarakya.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mr. Shekhar, I have another question.
Yeah.
Today you introduced 2 words, immanent and transcendental.
Yes.
And incidentally, it just happened I was looking for that word, and it is at the highest of a Maslow chart. So in this aspect, transcendental is like God or what?
Yeah. Transcendental is nothing else but God or consciousness.
I see.
Consciousness is another name for God.
Yeah. But then transcendental also, right?
Yeah. The nature of that God is transcendental. Transcendental means it is beyond the mind. That's
okay.
all.
Okay. Yeah. So is it equivalent to the Maslow chart also? Not supposed to be, right?
Yeah, it is. The transcendental is at the highest, which is beyond the body, mind. Maslow's need hierarchy is the first is the physiological needs.
Yeah.
The food, the shelter, the clothing. This is all at the bottom.
Okay.
After this physiological needs, you have mental needs. I need to be emotionally. I need to be stable. Then I want a spiritual knowledge. The spiritual knowledge is the highest.
Okay, so they are equivalent in this sense.
Yes, it is.
Okay, appreciate.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? All right, if there are no questions, we'll continue next week in the same chapter. We'll take up the next verse, and let's see how we learn these verses slowly and also learn to put it in practice. I'm very happy to see that most of you are able to understand and also apply it in your own life, which is very, very good, because that is what will transform your own lives. Thank you and good night.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you.